As you had moved to Nashville, started to focus on songwriting. Not only were you doing that, but you were going out playing bars for a couple $100 a night wherever, and working as an electrician when you could. I mean, this is not I showed up in Nashville and the next day Garth cut my song.
No, it's not.
Talk a little bit about the investment and the kind of the fortitude you have to have to get through.
Yeah, folks ask me, I'll meet a kid or I'll meet somebody who wants to be a songwriter or a singer, and I could be in Georgia or California or somewhere, and like, hey, so what do I do to do this? And I just tell them honestly, I'm like, it's not about visiting Nashville, for a week and passing out your CDs, and it's not even about, hey, I'm gonna move to Nashville for a year, and if it doesn't work, I'll come home. It's either you are gonna do this forever somehow or some way, or not. And so when you go, it was just like, I'm not coming home. Like, this is it. And when I moved to Nashville, I realized like this is where I'm supposed to be. And so when it was hard and it wasn't working, I was waiting on trying to get a publishing deal, and so I could write songs. And I was waiting tables, going home for 2 weeks, working with Daddy, putting money away so I could go back for a month or whatever. And it's a part of what I was going to do, period. Yeah. And my parents for a long time, they always supported me, always, but they were always like, well, you sure you want to keep, because you got a job here, come run the family business. Yeah. And it would have been cool, but it's a life choice, not even a career choice either.
Because you made some difficult choices along the way. You'd gone to Clemson, played football, which, by the way, for an ACC school is not an insignificant thing. I will say, and these people probably know that. But you decided 3 years in that what, we're leaving that behind. The chance to graduate, all that went, and we're making the commitment to do music.
Yeah, I mean, at Clemson, it's excluding even football. I mean, it's a really good engineering school. It's, and it's a 5-year program. I was there for 4 years, and I was like, I'm going to Nashville. And so when I visited and I met a few people, I was really fortunate. Met a few people who I played some songs for, and they're like, man, you need to be here. Yeah. And I felt that in my gut. But when they told me that, I was like, you know what, I'm going to go. And that was a little difficult to talk to my parents about.
Talk about that conversation.
Yeah, they had just helped me. They forked out a lot of money to have me there at Clemson for 4 years, and I had a year to go. And I'm like, so I'm not how many kids are in. I'm not saying just quit college and go to Nashville, but
you followed your heart.
Yeah, I went to spring break and I visited Nashville just to see, I wanted to visit it, and I met Doug Johnson,
right,
who ended up being my friend, my producer, took me to Curb Records, just kind of a big brother there in Nashville, and I played him a few songs, and he looked at me, he's like, man. He said, your daddy ain't gonna like this. He said, but I know, he's a good old boy, yep. Doug is, and he said, but you need to be here. He said, and if you come here, I'll be with you like I'll work with you forever, and so that was really special to me, and so that's when I just said I'm going,
Yeah. Talk a little bit about Doug in terms of he's a guy who had done well in Nashville, had a career as a producer and a writer, and having someone like that in your corner means an awful lot to someone who's just trying to break in.
Oh yeah, I mean, I came to Nashville, visited, and I was staying with some friends that they were in college, and one of them was a writer for this publishing company, and I was sitting on her couch one day. She came home from work. She's like, "Who are you?" on my couch, and she's like, "Play that again," And I was just visiting, and she heard some songs. I said, "You got to meet my publisher," and I met this lady the next day, and this lady, I played her some songs, and she cut off her phone, and we sat there for an hour. It was supposed to be a 15-minute meeting. I was there for an hour or two, and she said, you got to meet my husband. And so the next day, I met Doug Johnson at this little bar at this thing called a songwriters round that I'd never heard of. And there's 3 songwriters up there playing these songs. So this first guy starts playing a song, and I'm like, he gets done, and I'm like, all right, I'm going home. No way. And then the middle guy plays. I'm like, I might could do that in a little while, like a few years. And then Doug was there. We met him the next morning, and I played him songs, and he told me this thing. And so Doug, from that point forward, you can't even imagine how important it is. He introduced me to co-writing. We started writing songs all summer long, every day. You know, he'd run record labels and all this stuff, and every day we sat together and we wrote, and he introduced me to other writers. Some of the writers Garth Brooks, these writers that wrote all these songs for Garth Brooks, he introduced me to them, and I got to hang out with them and write songs, and I was just floored by this. And then from that point, I just took it on as work, and I worked, and I worked every day. And so Doug just put me in motion, you know, like I can never thank him enough for that. You know.